Hi, I'm Tom Hendrickson from the DevOps Online Summit. Welcome to our keynote interview with Daniel O. Daniel, introduce yourself to the people here at the DevOps Online Summit.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, once again, my name is Daniel O. I'm working for Red Hat as technical marketing major. And I'm really trying to spend a lot of time to evangelize the developer, but also operation team to build cloud-native application, but also hybrid cloud strategy and technology and platform. Out of Red Hat, I'm also responsible for CNCF ambassador and DevOps Institute ambassador. Yeah, tons of things for me. Yeah, the one main goal for me, I try to share my experience and practice and knowledge with many smart people. And then you can follow me with my any Twitter and the YouTube channel or GitHub, etc.
Yeah, you're a busy guy, Daniel. You're in a lot of places on social media, and like you said, you're ambassador for two of those different foundations, so you're very busy.
Yeah, look, good for me, actually.
Yeah, excellent. So today, your title for your session is 3 serverless strategies to look for in 2021. So give us a clue, a summary of what you mean by that, Daniel.
Sure, yeah. So today we're going to talk a little bit about 3 serverless strategy, which we needed to care about specifically in 2021 in terms of how it relate to building a DevOps initiative and how it makes the life of the developer and operators change, and what benefit DevOps team gain when they execute the strategies. And there are more interesting bullet points we need to have some conversation with. It should be fun.
Excellent. So let's jump right in there. What is a serverless deployment and why is it important to DevOps initiatives?
Yeah, that's a really good starting question, actually. So before we talk about serverless development, let's take one step back to remind what serverless or function as a service, aka FaaS, is. Since Amazon provided Lambda back in 2014, we have a number of serverless tools, framework, and managed or even manageable platforms. So these evolving new technology enable the developers to spend more time implementing business application and run them on top of the serverless platform. So serverless development means developer need to try to design cloud-native microservices and integrate with the managed services as much as possible. So for example, the Facebook API and Amazon RDS or Kinesis or SQS, even Salesforce.com or Telegram, Slack, Jira, and a backend Kafka message. This is all kinds of the manageable and managed services you have to care about to integrate your function as services.
Excellent. So
and one more thing, just
go ahead.
Sorry about that. So one more thing. So in order to implement, the new DevOps initiative, so developer probably need to run lots of infra layers such as Redis containers and designing or packaging in Kubernetes manifesto or CI/CD pipeline, even something like automatic build tools. So with the serverless development and platform, developers can now rule this burden out from their daily work, but also operator can spend more time improving the performance and reliability of their production environment based on cloud-native infrastructure rather than just a handy configuration installation, just like we have been doing in traditional way.
Yeah. So how could Kubernetes impact serverless development?
Let's say if you want to move to Kubernetes for developing your new serverless applications, then you might want to create the Kubernetes manifesto for creating required resources such as, for example, service, deployment, pod, replica, proxy, and so on the Kubernetes cluster. There are a bunch of things you need to care about for deploying your application. For more example, developer perspective, they also working on serverless development. They have a few more steps for their in-loop development workflow, such as building container image on top of the serverless application and tying some dependency to run your serverless application. And after that, they need to quick sanity test with the running container image and push it into external container recipe And last, they can pull that image into remote Kubernetes cluster. This is a whole new step they needed to take care of with the Kubernetes. And for developer might also need to extract some configuration by using Kubernetes features such as secret or config. Of course, the developer also need to figure out how to create a YAML thing, because some people not familiar with that YAML. Yeah. So when I saw the YAML file 5 years ago, I saw that, oh, it's similar to JSON as a Java developer perspective. And turns out that is totally different, because I mistakenly put in the one space in the middle of YAML file. It totally broken. And I spent more than 3 hours to figure it out. So that was a disaster for me. Yeah, luckily we got a lot of great handy tool to avoid that kind of mistake. But still, yeah, YAML is totally different space for developer, specifically Java developer and Python and Go developer. And so developers, so in the end, I mean, developer specs in the end, it takes more than 2 or 3 times longer than traditional loop serverless developer without Kubernetes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, you bring up a good point there, Daniel, is that it's a big shift, isn't it, to go from server to it, or jump into serverless if you're not familiar with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, what are 3 serverless strategies or personas we have to look for in 2021?
Yeah, that is actually I want to talk about today. So first strategy is serverless functions, as you might imagine that. So since the COVID-19 pandemic actually triggered lots of enterprise companies to run business services on the managed service platform like Amazon or Google or some vendors SaaS platform. Besides, the developer began transforming existing microservices into serverless function. So cloud native serverless landscape can be the first step for developers to create a deployable function across a managed cloud platform. Maybe one thing you should be aware that it's not easy to develop traditional microservices and serverless function on the same application runtime along with the Kubernetes and container native way. So because a lot of developers have a big burden to develop new serverless application, even migration. Okay, I needed to change my existing application to serverless in next 10 days. That's the new order from your boss, but not going to happen in a day, right? Yeah. And the second strategy is serverless events, because event-driven services are growing for increasing business flexibility and agility. Event-driven services also reduce dependencies and complexity in application development. So serverless events enable developers to maximize this benefit when they implement event publishers and exchange data across the serverless platform. Let me give some example. So knative eventing is one of the Kubernetes under project. So you could manage and build the application on top of the Kubernetes for a serverless workload. So one of the module is knative eventing. So knative eventing is built on a cloud event, one of the project in CNCF. Which allows developers to write serverless event with a late binding feature, such as event creation, sync, and the consumption, which means you can separate developing consumer and provider independently. So you don't need to take care about the other team when they provide the provider, but I don't care about that because I just create my consumer and deploy on production environment. Such is really awesome. And the last strategy is a serverless workflows. With the rise of the popularity to adopt the DevOps pipeline, workflow definition is also becoming key role in serverless event coordination. This is the reason why the serverless functions are also increasingly complex and composed of multiple tasks in a single event. In order to specify complex business workflows with serverless workloads, developers have to define the workflow model with a vendor-neutral specification and orchestrating a serverless event. So just imagine that in a business workflow, you have a maybe even 20 or 30 step and a multiple life cycle to define your business domain. It's pretty complex to understand. Even it's really not easy to maintain that maybe next 2 years. So everybody is doing serverless and function, and they're using Kubernetes. And then after 6 months, enterprise have maybe hundreds of serverless event and function. How to manage that along with your business workflow? This is the reason why you have to care about serverless workflow strategy as the last but least.
So just to recap there, Daniel, can you give us those three again? Because you had serverless events, serverless workflows. What was number one? I just want to make sure we recap that for everyone.
Yeah, serverless function, serverless event, and serverless workflows.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to recap that to make sure everyone caught all those. So just to kind of summarize that, what benefits will developers and operators gain if we execute each one of those strategies?
Yeah, so I want to talk about two different perspectives. First of all, the developer standpoint. As long as the developer adopt the Kubernetes native application runtime, they can easily convert existing microservices to serverless function. With that, they can spend more time from design to develop, build, and test the business application as a serverless function. And also, each developer team can have loosely coupled or even independent inner loop development for developing and deploying multiple serverless events with the team collaboration. With all this kind of benefit, in the end, the organization will increase the developer productivity, but also developers don't need to learn or even manage infrastructure layers such as CPU, memory, or disk storage, or network, even container for running serverless application. This is the benefit a developer gain from when they execute the strategies. Otherwise, operator perspective, first of all, when they have a serverless workflow, they can orchestrate the number of serverless events more efficient way, just like a business process or a DevOps pipeline with a great tool. And they can also have some simplified the complex serverless event and workflow from millions of different teams and organizations. And then they can reduce cascading failure, but the DevOps team has also the vendor neutral and consistent serverless platform from modeling to consistent management. So this is a benefit for operations team. Also, you can say a DevOps team.
Yeah. So what business values will enterprises gain when they adopt serverless technologies on Kubernetes?
Yep. So as always, whenever I am asked about this question, the first answer is always cost saving. Everybody care about cost saving. We're looking forward to new business model and new services and a fast growth market. But in the end, the cost saving is always a high and top priority. So I'm going to talk and get started with the cost saving. So cost saving, you can with this serverless technology, you can have definitely cost saving to avoid over and under provisioning to run the business application. For example, so when you have too many containers or virtual machine for running that business application in terms of the over provisioning standpoint, the infrastructure still has to eat your cost even if the resource become idle. Or otherwise, when you have more requests than the number of provision container or virtual machine, in terms of the under provisioning perspective, which leads to poor quality of service and even lost your business revenue by missing some critical transaction. But with the serverless technology, you don't need to worry about over provisioning or under provisioning. It's definitely fitting your business workload. In the end, the enterprise with the serverless technology can go to market with more reliable services or product go to faster market with the product for their end user or even client.
Excellent. What should IT leaders know about serverless technologies and how can they help their DevOps teams?
Yeah, this is a really tough question, actually, because you know what? It's really hard to convince IT leaders because they already have more than even 25, even 35 years experience. Yeah, when I try to talk something, they already, okay, I'm a band-aid on that. And they don't try to convince me, right? Yeah, but yeah, I was trying to say, as a serverless technology adopting is not only for individual developers matter, but also refers to development workflow among multiple teams and organizations for building cloud-native microservices on Kubernetes. It also enables to convert to serverless function anytime you need along with the business domain or requirements. However, you know what? As you know, the IT readers might not think serverless function fitting my or their business characteristics for providing more stable and reliable services like a 24/7 criteria. So I'm pretty sure that if they want to analyze their data transaction pattern along with the end user experience or some kind of market trend, the entire application shouldn't be running all the time, which means they'll still have a chance to reduce infrastructure costs, but the DevOps team can also manage the production environment more efficiently. So we do less manpower, right? So for helping their DevOps team, I would say IT readers need to keep catching with the new serverless tool technology. For example, Quarkus invented by Red Hat, but it's a fully open source project. It's a new cloud-enabled Java framework, which is designed for developing cloud-enabled microservices and high-performance serverless application on Kubernetes cluster. So with the Quarkus, you can have super fast startup time, like a millisecond measurement,
Wow.
and a tiny memory footprint, like a 90% less memory usage compared to traditional Java application. Pretty awesome. So if you have just 10 microservice application running on your production environment, go for it. Yeah, no one bother you. But if you have maybe thousands of microservices in running on Kubernetes as a pod, and maybe you kind of have a seasonality, high workload, something like that, you definitely consider this new serverless technology. And so this is the way IT readers have the DevOps team for adopting new serverless strategy, but also technology.
Daniel, you've shared a lot with us. Any closing thoughts?
Just one thing, please make sure to keep watching the serverless technology landscape in terms of what new open source projects or manage the services unleash upon the serverless world, and then do some experimental project before you actually adopt a serverless tool, platform, or even runtimes. Just remember, serverless will accelerate your business revenue, but also create a new opportunity to provide optimized end user experience and services. And thanks for inviting me. Hope you enjoyed this topic.
Thanks for coming on, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
On behalf of Daniel O, I am Tom Henriksen for the DevOps Online Summit.